Oh, I gotta turn my mic on. Where is my mic? Oh God, there are grades being shown. Oh, God. Oh, this is my life. Okay. Oh, good morning. I apologize for I'm here. Uh, good morning. I was trying to put in your all's grades before I jumped on here so that you could see right where you're at, where you're standing, and then it ended up on my screen for a hot second. So there you go. Good morning, Maggie. Okay, good. That's good. That's good. That's really good. All right, so hopefully today we're going to jet through 15-4 and we are going to talk about coal, and we're going to be proud of coal, as proud as we can be. We're going to recognize that it is still, according to our AP Environmental book, the world's dirtiest fossil fuel ever. And so we're going to remember that if we're writing for an audience, that we are terrible people and we are doing terrible things, and then we're going to be okay with having electricity in our homes and warmth or coolness in our homes and keeping Granny Nana alive at the, wherever she's at, Sunnyside Acres. So I don't think anything has really happened. I have not looked at data nuggets yet. I worked last night until 8:30. It is Satan's beeping at Matthew. I worked till 8:30 last night, and I cannot tell you how bad I wanted to ram my head through the computer. I felt like this when I made this PowerPoint, and I think when I present it to you guys, it's better. It's more interesting to me. It's just me mining through all of that extra stuff and getting it to a edible bite for you all is just awful. And so I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm not a motor person. I'm not a car person. We may, for real, seriously, have Chad be a guest speaker. The next chapter, chapter 16, is all about renewable energy resources. And we're talking about, like right now, I'm trying to find my way through this stupid PowerPoint on hydrogen cells for an engine for a car. I just watched like 4 YouTube videos on this combined machine that captures energy and recycles it, and it's all about these machines and these engines, and I'm just not fluent in it. And so that makes it exceptionally difficult for me. And there's only like 14 pages of it in your book. So finally at 8:30 last night, seriously, I just quit. And I turned on my stupid thing, and I was trying to watch that stupid hydrogen cell video again. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We may have to just, like I'm trying to think about, if I were you, if it were me, could I talk about engines anyway? Like, so I don't know. I don't know if we don't need to just cut it and be like, those of you that are engine heads, just dig in and enjoy. And then the rest of us normal people will just pray that it's not on there. Okay, so without that, good morning, Ella. No, Kaylee, I did not. I had a long night last night. So without further ado, let's get to talking about some coal here. And I do refuse. I do like that I see some of you guys on the same PowerPoint with me. That's cool. I think some of you guys are actually like maturing and like taken your notes before you come to class. It's exciting. It's amazing how much growth you're doing. So, what is coal? Now, here, the first thing that jumps out to me about this is the word peat. And the word peat is used, not I want to say a lot because that's silly. If it were used a lot, we'd all be fluent in it. But peat is something that you may hear from time to time in not casual conversation, but if you're talking about, um, I don't know, landscaping maybe. I want to say, peat is an option. Let me see if I can get to, God dang, my channel so I can see your all's comments again. I just realized I just left you there. Here we are. My poor face. Okay, good morning. Okay, we're still resuming. All right, so coal is what we all assume is that it's old dinosaur remains, and I love saying that it's dinosaur remains because, guys, that's just fun. But the reality of the situation is, it seems like it's more plant-based than anything else. So that might be a stumbling block for some people that didn't have this class, because remember, that's what they're looking for, people that are trying to take this test without having had this class. So it's basically land plants based on the time stamping that they do. Pete, yes. They're saying 300 to 400 million years ago. So it just depends on your geological time scale, how you represent that. And you can just see as time moves forward, as pressure increases, as heat increases, we go from peat to lignite to coal. So peat is just that like plant-based ooey. I'm gonna say it's probably pretty rich in nutrients. I'm not a peat specialist. Coal, I keep thinking that this is burnt wood. I feel like all of us good rednecks that have been to a good like bonfire knows that I don't think this is coal. Google, but I liked that it was red and it was glowy, so I put it in there anyway. So, word of the day: coal is dirty. It is burned in power plants. It generates about 45% of the world's electricity. And one of the big things that I know we've talked about this before is to know that we're sending our coal to China. Like China has no qualms about burning our coal. 93% of the electricity in South Africa comes from burning coal, and this is South Africa. I don't know where, but I was surprised because, again, I am ignorant, and I think about the whole, like South Africa and it being third world, it being underdeveloped, and this looks like LA to me. This looks like Las Vegas. This looks like any other big city here in America. So South Africa also is using a ton of electricity, evidently, and most of that is coming from coal. 73% of China is getting their electricity from coal, and this is the Great Wall. And I've never been to China. I almost went once, but then the bird flu took me out. I mean, didn't take me out, but like China shut down their borders and was like, no, thank you, you nasty Americans. And I didn't get to go. I was going to teach high school in China. Can you imagine? I would probably still be in a hole somewhere. They would definitely not appreciate my humor or my straightforwardness. I kind of feel like I might have got caned. But I don't know. I don't feel like there should be lights on the Great Wall. I feel like these are not, like, surely they haven't put wires through the Great Wall, but I don't know. The cheapest of natural gas has allowed the United States to drop from 53, the cheapness has allowed us to drop from 53% to 37%, meaning that we are no longer using 53% for coal. We're now using 37% for coal. And remember, in 2012, that would have been in Barack Obama's huge initiative to get rid of our coal mines. So this lines up with what we have all lived through, which is the shutting down of our mines. You guys probably do not know, but Muhlenberg County used to be very wealthy. I think it's very interesting when you look at Muhlenberg County and where it is placed on the map because it's quite isolated. It's over an hour away from everything. And depending on where you're living, it may be quicker for you to go to Bowling Green or Nashville than it is to go to Owensboro if you live in Muhlenberg County. But Muhlenberg County was wealthy. I'm bringing up Muhlenberg County for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know if you know, John Prine died last night, and he was the guy that said, "Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County?" And Coach K, that is Allie's teacher, he's from Muhlenberg County as well. So he was posting all this stuff on Facebook about Muhlenberg County. But Muhlenberg County was a booming town, or a booming county. It had tons of economy. It had tons of industry. And then the mines got shut down, and it shut the county down. Like, you guys don't go to Muhlenberg County and think, oh yeah, no, these people have stuff that rivals Davis County. It's like going to McLean County now. It's crazy how much shutting down the coal mines changed the landscape of. Muhlenberg County was certainly not alone in what happened when we shut the mines down. So I looked it up, and it looks like right now we appear to be at 13% dependent upon coal, which, depending on where you're at, could be pretty good. So coal is also burned in industrial plants to make steel, cement, and other products. This is just going to play to some of your strengths, and some of your strengths don't lie here. So, like, how do you make cement? I don't know. How do you make steel? You mine it and you melt it is about as far as I can go with it. I know that Chad used to have a job in an aluminum swelter, and the aluminum would go down in his clothing and burn him. Like, the heat from your body would cool the molten lava, and seems like it's quite intense to get it made. So, for those of you that speak this language, this should make sense, that we are burning coal to make electricity to make these things. People like me, you're like, oh, okay. Now, 5 of the world's largest, I think you've heard me say a couple of times, China, right? And I picked this picture for a couple of reasons, but the primary is there's Chinese people there. If you look in the background, I think that's Chinese writing. I don't... I haven't been to any tattoo parlors, so I'm going to assume that's Chinese. But after China, according to your text, it's the United States. Now, is this subject to change? Absolutely. Is this currently correct? I don't know. There comes a point when Skim has to just pull the plug and say, I'm done. So this is clearly old data because it's your textbook. But China, U.S., India, Russia, Japan. So if you'll notice, China, U.S., and India have one thing in common, right? They are the world's, largest populated places. So it should make sense that the place with the most people burns the most coal because it uses the most electricity. Like, all of those things should follow to suit. I just thought this was beautiful. And I think it just, I don't know, if it goes with with my Kentucky roots and being proud of where I came from, and going back to my childhood and seeing a picture of my dad in his little coal miner's hat and stuff. And I don't know, but I saw it and I thought it's beautiful. And I thought, in all of this awfulness that we're talking about, how awful coal is, there's also beauty in it. Maybe we don't need to be burning it at the rate we're burning it, but I think it's beautiful. So 5 countries have 3. God, my watch keeps going off. 5 countries have 3/4 of the world proven coal reserves. I'm going to say that first 3 is not supposed to be there, and I just meant have 3/4 of the world's proven coal reserves. So the United States has the most, at 28%. Now, remember, dirty coal, right? Like, our high sulfur content, we don't get to use it. And that is Australia, not Austria, because I do have trouble with that too. I saw this little girl, I think it's a little girl, I don't know, and I thought that was just adorable. In my head, she's dressing up like her daddy. But the U.S. Geological Survey estimates that identified U.S. coal reserves could last about 250 more years at our current consumption rate. Now, did she forget about us? What did I forget? I don't know, Cohen. I did not forget about you. So the at the current rate means that our population would remain the same, and we know that our population is not remaining the same. But still, it's looking like we've got another at least 200 years with coal, but we are migrating away from that. So the problem is coal is by far the dirtiest of all fossil fuels. If I've said it once, I've said it a lot, right? Even with the costly air pollution control technology, the air pollution is high. The scrubbers, it seems to always be a cross-country girl, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because you guys are always out there running or whatever, but Miss Fortney is telling me stories consistently. Like one of them that I remember is the one little girl that wanted to know if that's where they make clouds. Like that seems to be a common misconception that is verbalized with our DC cross-country team. The smokestacks out there on the river, and that is not where they make clouds. That is just a product of cloud of steam, right? Of the air quality technology. Okay. Good, Cohen. So this is very familiar to us. This isn't Davis County, but this looks very familiar to us, and that's what we're doing. We are trying our best to scrub that coal and make it as clean as possible, even though it is very dirty. So toxic ash is something that I didn't know, and I hope I'm not breaking any laws here by showing you this video like I was the other one. I hope you guys went back and watched that 2020 because it was a good one. I'm just talking about all the money that's out there with natural gas. So what you're looking at here is an ash pond that I didn't even know that was a thing, and we're from Kentucky. So if we don't know ash pond is a thing, then I'm going to say a lot of people don't know ash pond is a thing, but it is as bad as it sounds. Okay, so the EPA rule change worries linger for those near coal ash ponds, and that there is a video in here. I know there is. I read through all of this, which clearly you may as well. Oh, just need to be patient, Miss Skimehorn. Just need to be patient.
From Don Winslow, one of the most honored and acclaimed authors in the world, comes the most talked about book of the summer, Broken. Now on sale everywhere books are sold.
It's quiet, it's safe, it's a family atmosphere.
Danielle Bailey Lash grew up in Walnut Cove, North Carolina. The tranquil town of just over 1,000 people sits right along picturesque Ballew's Lake.
The lake, that was a big reason to move into this area?
Dream location, it had everything that we needed, and the price was right.
The price was right because just over those trees is the Ballew's Creek Steam Station, one of Duke Energy's largest coal-burning power plants. And one of the realities of coal-burning plants is that you need a place to dispose of the waste, and that traditionally has meant coal ash ponds, like this. It may look like a beautiful lake, but it is basically an unlined pit in the ground with millions of tons of ash. Mercury, cadmium, arsenic, contaminants associated with cancer, right in Danielle's backyard. In 2009, Danielle began experiencing headaches.
And I went to the hospital, and they told me that I had a brain tumor. And they weren't lying. They said it was the size of a drink box, right over here.
Can I take a look again?
Sure.
She was diagnosed with stage 3 astrocytoma, brain cancer.
What do you think caused all this?
I'm 100% sure I know what caused it. And that's Duke Energy.
Of course, that is impossible to know for certain. Her doctors can't say. There have been too few studies to make any conclusions. But I wanted to see the water myself.
This is the beautiful Catawba River. These waters travel from the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains some 400 miles out to the coast of Charleston, South Carolina. All along the way, you're going to see these coal-powered plants, as this one you see right over here behind me here. Some have called this river the most electrified river in America as a result. And with those plants, you see coal ash ponds. And that's a concern, because if there is seepage from these coal ash ponds into the river, or the river becomes inundated with contaminants because of a break in the dam, that would devastate the drinking water for some 2 million people living in this area.
Riverkeeper Sam Perkins is giving me a tour of what he calls the capital of coal ash.
You're looking up about 100 feet that has built up over the years holding back all that ash.
How safe is it?
That's Earth. You have freezing, thawing, expansion, contraction, and you have dam safety issues.
In fact, in 2008, a break in the dam at a Tennessee Valley Authority power plant inundated the surrounding area with over 1 billion gallons of ash and sludge. In early 2014, a corroded pipe at Duke's Dan River Station here in North Carolina released up to 39,000 tons of coal ash into nearby waters. More than 3 years later, the state still warns against eating some of the fish because of high mercury levels.
We quickly sprung into action to not only address what was happening at that particular site.
I met up with Duke Energy's Aaron Culbert at one of their sites.
We also set up an entire task force to review all of our other facilities and make sure we didn't have that kind of risk anywhere else.
And can you say for sure that you do not?
We can't say for certain we've got every pipe, but I can say for certain that we have grouted many pipes that would allow any chance of risk from the basins.
If you don't know where all these pipes are, we don't know what's risky, what's not risky.
We can chase pipes all day long, but the ultimate way of making sure that we have safe closure is to remove the water and close these basins in a way that's federally approved by the EPA, and that's what we're really working to do here.
In 2015, the EPA did finally take action and began requiring straightforward measures. Test the groundwater, close contaminating coal ash ponds, place future waste in basins that have linings. Measures that Murray Energy lobbied against back in March of 2017. Murray's lobbyist, the new acting EPA chief, Andrew Wheeler.
I did work for a coal company, and I'm not at all ashamed of the work that I did for the coal company.
According to documents and photos obtained by CNN, Wheeler arranged a meeting between his boss, Bob Murray, CEO of one of the country's largest coal mining companies, and Energy Secretary Rick Perry. They presented the secretary with an action plan for, quote, reliable and low-cost electricity, a plan that included rewriting coal ash regulations. That same plan was also sent to the EPA, the organization Wheeler now runs.
The EPA is in a rush to do things that will benefit these coal ash utilities, purely because of the influence of their trade associations and their lobbyists.
And this week, the first set of proposed rule changes were finalized. Among the changes, groundwater no longer needs to be monitored if the plant can prove that it is not polluting the aquifer. Our request to speak with Administrator Wheeler was declined. In a statement provided by the EPA, he said, quote, our actions mark a significant departure from the one-size-fits-all policies of the past and save tens of millions of dollars in regulatory costs. Duke Energy is steadfast that testing has shown that none of the coal ash contamination has reached public groundwater.
Testing continues to demonstrate that coal ash operations are not impacting private wells.
It's something Danielle has heard before. But when you live next to a coal plant and an ash pond, even if it is your dream home, you're always living in a bit of fear.
It was the dream. We're still paying for that dream, unfortunately, but I'll have to dream somewhere else.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, so things such no, stop. Okay. Things to talk about. Oh, here's that PowerPoint I'm working on. Look at this. Look, I couldn't make it through the video. Okay, I'm back on. All right, so like the lady got cancer. One of the hard things to talk about with getting cancer is, where'd you get it from? Well, you don't know where you got it from. She believes Yes. Oh, that's good to know, Caleb. Thank you. We don't know where she got her brain cancer from. Is it likely she got it from the coal ash? I would say yes. I don't know. It's just the ability to prove where you got it from is the problem. I've got a hair on me. The process of making coal available severely degrades the land and pollutes the water and the air. So these are things that you really want to take into consideration. I picked this picture because if you look down at that little bitty Tonka truck, that's a real truck. So when I first looked at this picture, I was like, that's not very impressive. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that's a truck. So that's huge, right? Like this is a huge hole in the earth. Chad does some fishing, like Chad and Ace have gone fishing in some stripper pits. And I don't know if this is a stripper pit. Like this looks very big to me. If you look at the top, there's a little like crane type machine. So this is huge. So if you were to be asked questions about mining and mining practices, one of the problems is the disruption of the ecosystem, right? All of the things that lived above this, they had to go. Where did they go? Don't know. But it probably wasn't good. So that needs to be a talking point for you. Coal is mostly carbon, but that's sulfur. I know I keep coming back to the word sulfur because that's the sulfur content that makes us the kind of the butt of the joke sometimes. So sulfur dioxide is a pollutant that is put off when coal is burned. Soot is that black. A lot of times if you see the pictures of the coal miners and they've got that black goo on them, that's the soot. And it does release those fine particles. Remember PM10 and PM 2.5. And mercury is one of those pollutants. Now, let's jump back to mercury real quick, and let's talk about biomagnification. Remember, biomagnification is something that a lot of times is stored in a person's fat. So it's a lipid stored, and so you don't ever get rid of it. So everything that you eat that has that mercury stored in its fat stays with you, right? So that's how it compounds. So in 2010, the Clean Air Task Force estimated that 13,000 premature deaths were caused in the U.S. So some people read this and they think they're talking about premature babies. They're not talking about premature babies. They're just saying people didn't live to their full life expectancy because of exposure to air pollution. So, of course, I also picked the UK picture because Kentucky coal. So it's not babies, it's just people not living to their full life expectancy. And then according to a World Bank report, burning coal in China, where air control is far from adequate, causes at least 650,000 deaths a year. Population of China is roughly 1.4 billion people. Is 100,000 a big deal? Not unless you're one of the 650,000 people, right? They don't have a problem with it. I'm trying to, yeah. I'm going to try to be patient and see if it, there it is, okay.
Children are our future. Societies that help their children to achieve their full potential thrive and grow economically. That's why it's so important to protect our children from one of the greatest dangers they face: the toxins and particles in polluted air. Children, our future, crave clean air so they can survive and thrive. Our future craves clean air, but air pollution is increasing. We are facing an emergency. 9 out of 10 children do not breathe safe air. Children are closer to the ground, to car exhausts and indoor smoke. They breathe faster than adults, taking in more of the polluted air. And their developing bodies are more likely to be damaged by the toxins in the air. Every year, 600,000 children die from breathing polluted air. Before a baby takes her first breath, she's being harmed by the toxins her mother is inhaling. Half of all deaths from lung infection in young children in lower middle income countries are due to air pollution. If that baby survives childhood, the daily damage done to her brain, lungs, heart will limit her chances of growing into a healthy, productive adult. Cognitive damage, lowering of a child's ability to learn, means children exposed to air pollution will struggle at school and fail to reach their full potential. Terrible damage has been done, but it is still not too late to change. By prescribing clean air for children, policymakers can save lives and protect them from the lifelong effects of air pollution exposure. We all have a role to play. Activists, experts, economic and political leaders, and individuals can all take steps to better manage waste, change the way we travel, monitor air quality, and regulate production of pollutants, among many other potential actions. But we have no time to waste. We can and we must act now.
Dios sanito y carota para chumar as pinches and the vacation to
Okay, so I looked up for you guys so like a stripper pit, that's not just a redneck word, that's a real word, and a strip mine leaves behind often a stripper pit. Now, this reclamation, I'm assuming, is when it is filled back in, when the pit is not left behind. I didn't have time to look that up. We have several more videos here in a minute. Let's see, I have an innovation idea. Make mask that filters air pollution that would cleanse it. Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's like the M95s that they're wanting for us to let the medical professionals have. So a stripper pit, which you guys like Chad and Ace may have been fishing in or swimming in. Sometimes we find dead bodies in them. Sometimes people dump garbage in them. This is if they've collected water. I even had a friend that used to do deep sea diving, and he would train people in stripper pits, and he had like the sunken refrigerator was a focal point, like could you get to the sunken refrigerator and could you go on down, and all I could think is like the devil and dead bodies, and I'm pretty sure Loch Ness, and I mean there's just something, I was never scared of being in the ocean because, like I'm bad A, y'all. And so Chad and I went snorkeling in the Bahamas, and we were snorkeling and we went out, and like you're just chasing fish, right? Like it's, I don't know, 15 feet deep maybe. And you're just chasing all these fish, and we saw this huge manta ray, stingray, something that was huge. It was far bigger than your dining room table. And it was gliding out. And I mean, I was just chasing this thing. I thought, this is beautiful. And so I'm chasing this sharkfish ray thing, table-sized animal, because I'm dumb. And all of a sudden I lost focus of, like where I was, and I was just pursuing this animal. And I looked down and it was just black. And I looked back and it was just black. And I had swam past the shelf, and all of a sudden I was like, oh no, I am not in a good space right now. Like, I'm definitely a minnow in a very, very large pool. And I got back. Like, when you are over the shelf and all of the fish are there and you can see, it's amazing. You can see, and it's so beautiful. It's so cool. But like, once I recognized that I was out too far and I was in the deep and it was dark and it was bad, I was like, oh, I got to get back, y'all. It is fun. So they do sometimes, let's see, Harry says there was a deep pit from mined slate. Oh, I bet. Yeah, I bet the more that we mine, the more pits we're going to leave behind. And again, that's all of that. If that's our question, we're fleshing that out to talk about habitat destruction, loss of biodiversity, all of those things. What are they pulling out of the earth? Where does that fall in the cycle? Where does that fall in the biogeochemical cycle? Can you connect it back to that? Those are all good things. China leads the world in coal-burning power and industrial plants that are emitting carbon dioxide, our greenhouse gas. And America, at the time that your book was written, is second. I don't know if America is still second for the largest emitting of greenhouse gases. Yes, Logan. Harry, you can fact check us on that and see if we are still second. I don't know. Your book is old. Or it's not old, it's new, but it's crazy how quick this stuff changes. So I kind of went down the wormhole here with your clean coal campaign, and I tried to find different vantage points on this. I want to say I even got like one commercial that was like, this is awesome, don't be afraid. And then I got another one that was like, you're gonna die. So let's see. Can you guys hear the video with me still plugged up now all of a sudden? Tell me if you can still hear me. And see if I've done something. This guy, I really do want to like watch whatever this is. All right. Are you hearing me? Are you still hearing me? Are you hearing the video and me? Is what I'm asking. No, you're not hearing me. Are you hearing the video? I can hear you, but not the video. Okay.
I used to be a coal miner, but now I'm a full-grown coal adult. Hey there, Dirty Dozens. Jules here for D News. At the second presidential debate, Donald Trump brought up clean coal. Now, we saw some tweets from you guys wondering what exactly clean coal is. But before we can explain clean coal, you kind of have to understand why we use coal in the first place. Coal is incredibly important. It's cheap, one of the cheapest sources of energy available. It's amazingly efficient for making electricity, and it's one of the most abundant energy sources in the world, even more so than oil. But it does have one huge drawback. It's so dirty that people regularly die from its pollution. When coal is burned, it releases chemicals like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, a little mercury, and carbon dioxide, not to mention a bunch of various particulates. These leak into the air and water and result in smog, soot, acid rain, global warming, and toxic air emissions. Those can cause asthma, lung cancer, various heart diseases, and other health problems. Not good. So in an effort to placate people worried about dying just to get a little electricity, the coal industry heavily invested in clean coal. But clean coal is still coal. It's not a different kind of coal, it's just handled differently in the process of turning it into energy. The term clean coal is actually shorthand for clean coal technologies, which are designed to lessen the number of pollutants released in the production of energy. One such method is called carbon capture and storage, which is exactly what it sounds like. Carbon dioxide is separated from the air before it leaves a power plant or other production plant using a process called absorption or carbon scrubbing. This is where chemicals called amines are used to bind to the carbon dioxide and pull it out of the air. This gas is then piped underground or sequestered so that it can't leak into the atmosphere. It can even be used to help depleted oil fields coax their last bits of oil to the surface. We have a whole video about CO2 scrubbing if you want to know more. Another popular method to end the infamous acid rain scares of the 70s and 80s was to wash all the sulfur out of the coal before it made its way into the plant. And when I say wash, I mean literally. They would break it down into chunks and run it through a water tank, which could include minerals like magnetite to increase the density of the liquid. The coal floats because it's less dense, while the sulfur and other impurities sink. A third clean coal technology is called oxy-fuel combustion. When coal is burned at a power plant, the exhaust, also called flue gas, is usually just pumped into the atmosphere. But oxy-fuel combustion actually reroutes this flue gas back into the plant where it's paired with pure oxygen and reused to burn more coal. The reason they do this is because the normal air we breathe has a ton of nitrogen in it, and when it's heated with the coal, it reduces its efficiency and creates more nitrogen byproducts. But when we reuse flue gas and combine it with pure oxygen, this solves both of these problems and allows for hotter temperatures and more energy extraction. There are a number of other methods, but despite these efforts, environmental activists call clean coal an oxymoron, since it's not quite the anti-pollution miracle that coal companies make it out to be. The problem is that these methods are incredibly expensive and energy intensive, and that money and energy has to come from somewhere. Some estimate that the addition of capture carbon and storage to a coal fire plant increases coal use by 25% while keeping the electricity output the same. Another huge problem is that these byproducts aren't so much being eliminated as they're being moved elsewhere, which is more of a storage solution than an environmental one. And on top of all that, for those reasons, clean coal technologies are not particularly widespread, at least not enough to make a significant difference for the time being. In the end, clean coal helps stem pollution at the source, but it seems to help coal companies maintain their image more than it helps the environment maintain itself. If you've been a subscriber of D-News for a while, you might have seen some of our recent VR videos. It's a completely new way to tell stories, learn, and experience the world, and we just launched a brand new channel called Seeker VR. You can view the videos in 360 from your phone or computer. Click now to watch or visit the first link in the description, and make sure you
You're looking at the most abundant fuel in our country. You're looking at an American resource that will help. You're looking at the most abundant fuel in our country. You're looking at the most abundant fuel in our country. You're looking at an American resource that will help us toward vital energy security into the next century. But most of all, you're looking at 50% of our electricity. Coal. It's the resource that generates half of our electricity at a third the cost of most other fuels. It's the fuel that powers our way of life. Learn more about America's Power at americaspower.org.
Most everyone has heard of climate change, more commonly known as global warming. Scientists have determined that CO2, especially that which comes from using coal for electricity production, is a leading cause of climate change. And while we all want to do something to solve the problem, the current solution, carbon capture sequestration, is too expensive. We're talking billions of dollars to apply. But now, there's an affordable solution. It's called the Sidel Carbon Capture Utilization System, and it removes over 90% of the CO2 from combusted fossil fuel and biofuel exhaust for under $20 a ton. This is a savings of up to 900% versus carbon capture sequestration. How? By using the power of nature. As we all learned in elementary school, plants breathe in carbon dioxide. So we use that same process to help remove excess CO2 from the combusted coal exhaust. Here's an agriculture crop as it grows from seed to plant. A tractor mows off the leaves and then transports the part of the plant that was in the ground into a building near a power plant. The harvested vegetables are processed and become a liquid. With the Sidel system in place, the coal exhaust is then diverted from the power plant chimney to the Sidel CCU system. The coal exhaust enters near the bottom of the reactor. As the CO2 is slowly floating up the tank, the exhaust is being sprayed with the liquid. This transforms the CO2 into 3 useful, saleable products. The first, thickest sludge is calcium carbonate. The biofuel below it is a thinner liquid, and the biofertilizer below it is an even thinner liquid. Calcium carbonate can be used in plastics, paper, paint, rubber, cement, baking powder, animal feed, and can even be used to build seawalls. Think the White Cliffs of Dover. The biofuel is further processed in refineries as fuel for vehicles. It's also capable of being processed on-site into a power plant fuel that can be combusted alongside the coal to save the power plant money on buying coal. The biofertilizer is used for replenishing nutrients in the soil for farmers. It can even be used by the farmers to improve the soil for the crops grown for the Sidel carbon capture process, making the cycle complete. Because of the Sidel CCU system, coal-fired power plants will now be able to exceed the requirements of the EPA's Clean Power Plan. This also means increased profits, but the benefits aren't limited to just the environment. It helps the economy by creating jobs. We're talking lots of full-time jobs in a number of sectors: agriculture, transportation, mining, factory production, not to mention the full-time jobs created managing and operating the Sidel CCU systems. It's time for an affordable and profitable way to prevent CO2-related climate change. It's time for the Sidel Carbon Capture Utilization System. Contact us at 805-462-1250 or sid at sidelglobal.com to learn more.
Okay, I see Luke is asking how much water are they using, and then Harry's saying probably a lot, and I would say yes to that, and that's a great question to ask. Remember, we can pull this back to acid rain and, well, not acid rain, but so when you have air pollution, remember the rain pulls the pollution out of the sky. So like raining makes the air quality better. So in my head, that's what this, I just found this and I thought, well, this is a good alternative to like coal is the devil, coal is your savior. Well, here's kind of like that alternative in the middle that they're looking for. Harry's looking it up. So this is a alternative solution for us. How much are they using? How much food are they using for this is one of my questions. Clearly, how much water are they using to reclaim that carbon dioxide? My preference is always going to be to use a tree, right? We can convert coal into gaseous and liquid fuels, and they are called synthetic natural gases. Anytime that you see 70 million to 260 million gallons a day, is that a lot? Yes. Yeah, I would say that's a lot. And I don't know, like, we don't know the input, throughput, output, right? So is 260 million gallons of water a lot if we were improving the environment by 40%? No. If we're improving the environment by 0.4%, tons. That's a ton. So, good questions. Oh, so this is super cool. This is in Hawaii. So I don't know if you guys have been to Hawaii. I've only been once. But the one thing about Hawaii that really stood out to me is how expensive everything was. And everything is so expensive because the only way to get it on the island is to fly it or, to ship it, which are both very expensive modes of transportation. And both of those emit a ton of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases and air pollutants and water pollutants, right? The bunker fuel, right? The true Satan's PP. So I found this and I was like, this is cool. They have found a way to be self-sufficient in Hawaii. So I liked this one.
Hawaii Gas has been providing good energy to homes and businesses for cooking, drying, hot water heaters, tiki torches, and many other commercial and industrial processes here in Hawaii for over 100 years. Providing gas energy is a complicated endeavor, and Hawaii Gas creates and provides clean, efficient natural gas differently than any other utility in the world. What makes natural gas in Hawaii so unique? It's how we make it, and the fact that we make it right here in Hawaii. The state of Hawaii has a refinery that makes the gasoline for our cars and the jet fuel for airplanes that come and go from the islands every day. The refinery process begins with crude oil that is separated into different parts. These parts are categorized by the length and complexity of the carbon chain. Longer chains are heavier and dirtier. The heaviest parts are made into asphalt and heavy fuel oil that doesn't meet emission standards for road vehicles. This heavy oil is burned in Hawaii to make electricity. Jet fuel, gasoline, and other petroleum products are the bulk of the refinery process. And what's left is the lightest of petroleum compounds, naphtha, which is often viewed as a waste or a byproduct. Many refineries around the world flare this off. This is where Hawaii Gas steps in and captures this byproduct. Hawaii Gas owns and operates the state's only synthetic natural gas plant, and it is one of only a few in the world. At our SNG plant, we heat up and chemically alter the naphtha to convert it to a simpler, cleaner form. We then inject steam, made from local recycled water, to create hydrogen. In the process, CO2 is also formed, which we then capture and sell for distribution to make soda, beer, dry ice, and a wide range of other products. At the end of all this, what we have is the simplest and cleanest carbon-based fuel, natural gas. The SNG, or synthetic natural gas, that we then send through our pipeline is composed of up to 15% hydrogen. Having this high level of hydrogen content already in our gas mix allows Hawaii Gas to be a model for other utilities as the gas industry continues to innovate for the future. So, the next time you cook, dry clothes, eat at a local restaurant, or enjoy a hot shower powered by gas energy, you can feel good knowing that Hawaii Gas creates the cleanest utility fuel from a waste product right here in Hawaii.
16, 36, whatever it gives me.
Okay, yeah.
Do that?
Yeah.
Say hello to your class for me.
Okay, so super cool, yes. I thought that was super cool. And that kind of drives us to the end of our 15-4 bus ride. So the things that I wrote down on that video, I don't know if you guys do this, but a lot of times when I'm listening to the videos, I'm just jotting notes because that definitely complements learning, right? You're not just hearing it, but you're writing what you're hearing. Now there are breaks in your thought processes then, like as you're writing, you're probably zoning out, so you have to rewind and watch a couple of times. But the naphtha that they're talking about, when we did the oil refinery, the naphtha was always up there at the top. And you heard in this video that they were talking about they just released it and they just let it go, which that can't be good, right? And then the next thing that I wrote down was the longer these carbon chains, the dirtier and the nastier and heavier they were. So like the solution, right, the solution is to find a way to break those chains into smaller chains, which would convert them from heavier oils to lighter oils. And that's kind of what they're doing. The other thing that jumped out at me was that when they are converting the naphtha, they are using steam that as a byproduct of, if you think about it, you've got carbons and hydrogens. So that's C's and H's, right? CH4 is methane. And then if you add H2O to that, the byproduct is going to be CO2, right? Because those carbons are going to bond with those oxygens and when the water is introduced. So now we've released a greenhouse gas, and that's no bueno. So they made sure to notice that they're not just releasing the carbon dioxides, but then they're grabbing the carbon dioxides and they're finding a purpose for that. So that's kind of that fleshing out that they're doing. So that's really cool. And I don't know if there are other places in the United States or anywhere that's doing this, but it sounds super cool. Super cool. Okay, so here we are. We're at 15-5. Tomorrow you will get your vocab quiz for 15.3 through 15.6. I don't think there's anything in 15.6. So tomorrow we're going to talk about nuclear power, and then I have 6 more questions to write to give you 50 multiple choice, short answer, true, false, same setup as I did before. So I'm trying to do where I'm putting in missing for a certain amount of grace period, and then after that I'm gonna start like I started putting in zeros for the stuff that's 2 weeks old, and that's just to encourage you guys to keep working, keep plugging away. Please don't think anything is undoable. I'll accept all work. Don't let the zero stand. We talked yesterday about the mindset I'm fearful that some people have, which is you're banking on going back to school on May 4th. I don't think that's going to happen. But let's say it does. We go back to school for 10 days. You've done no work for 2 weeks. Hey, Max. So you've done no work for 2 weeks. You've done no work for 2 months, and you think in 10 days we're going to gather all your work and you're going to do all your work and you're going to catch all back up and it's all going to be great, and that will not happen. I just don't want that to be your all's decision-making process. I don't want that to be the way this rolls out. So I just want to keep encouraging you. It doesn't upset me. I'm not mad. I want you to do it. The best thing you can do is if you do something, Max, you can watch it again. I'm so glad that you showed up. If you do something, you can text me that you did it or email me that you did it. And the quickest thing to do is email me and just tell me your grade. And that saves me like 3 steps here. And I can just plug it in. If it's exceptionally late, I'm probably going to take a point or 2 off because you're exceptionally late. And that makes me make this face. So, but it's not going to be the big deal that you think it's going to be. You just have to remember, I love you guys. I want you to do well. I want you to succeed. And the only way to do that is for us to keep doing this. So I need you to keep working. I need you to keep reading. I need you to keep pining away. We are not going to be that group that I assign 73 crazy assignments a day. I'm not going to do that. We're going to do this. And you're going to be grateful that we're doing this by doing those few assignments that I give you in a timely manner. And I'll take care of the rest of that. So I keep forgetting to say good morning, family. So with that, I will say, I think is it good afternoon? Oh my gosh, it is. Oh no, and Miss Koshi just texted me and said that she's having internet problems. Oh, guys, this is all so frustrating. I know. Oh, thanks, Sander. Gosh dang it, I miss y'all. I am still praying for you and thinking about y'all. And I love when your little names pop up and your little emails pop up, and it makes me feel better about life. And we lost a dog yesterday, and we did not find it. I hope somebody found it, but we didn't find it. And Rosie, she meets all of these dogs on her walks, and she met this one dog, and it's big and black, and I was saying, that it was her big, what lover. And so we found out its name is Roscoe. This is what my life has been reduced to. Yesterday, I learned all about car parts and big black dog lovers. So you guys just keep praying for me. We're going to just keep holding each other up, holding each other together. We're going to get through middle school. You guys, I'm going to get age through middle school on NTI. It's going to be great. So, until 11 o'clock tomorrow, I will, see you then, family.